The man lived on the far edge of known space, on a colony most maps forgot to name. The buildings were old metal blocks, painted once and never repaired again. Dust moved through the streets like it owned the place, and silence stayed longer than people. His name was Elias Marr, and almost no one ever said it. He was human, and in the modern galaxy, that meant something close to invisible. Humans were not feared. Humans were not admired. Humans were tolerated. They were called emotional, slow, outdated. Other species said humans felt too much and thought too little. In a galaxy of sharp minds and strong bodies, humans were seen as a mistake that survived too long. Elias worked a simple job at the docking yards. He checked cargo seals and logged numbers that machines already knew. Most days, no one spoke to him. When aliens passed, their eyes slid over him like he was part of the wall. He ate alone, slept alone, and walked home alone. His room was small, clean, and quiet. No photos on the wall, no messages waiting, no voice calling his name. At night, he sometimes listened to old Earth recordings. Rain, wind through trees, distant thunder. Sounds from a world that felt more alive than the one he lived in now. Elias had no family left. No future plans. No reason to believe tomorrow would be different from today. That was why he noticed the ad. It appeared on a public terminal while he waited for his shift to end. Bright colors, soft words, and a promise that felt almost dangerous. Galactic Companion Matching Program. Connection beyond species. A partner chosen for you. He stared at it longer than he meant to. He almost laughed. Programs like that were jokes people told about lonely miners and desperate traders. But the word chosen stayed in his mind. That night, in his quiet room, Elias opened the terminal again. He read the rules slowly. Legal language, cultural warnings, bonding terms, and exit clauses. Most humans skip these programs because of fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of being laughed at. Fear of being paired with something too strange. Elias felt something else instead. Nothing left to lose. He filled out the form honestly. He wrote that he was quiet, that he worked hard, that he had no status, no power, no influence. He wrote that he wanted someone kind, someone calm, someone who would not look at him like he was less. When the size preference option appeared, he hesitated. He selected small to average, shy if possible. He imagined someone gentle, someone who would speak softly and sit beside him in silence, someone who might need him, just a little. After submitting the form, the screen paused. Then a message appeared. Match found. Arrival scheduled. His chest tightened. This was real now. The next day, the docking yard felt different. Whispers moved faster than cargo carts. A private transport was coming, not listed on public logs. Elias tried to focus on his work, but his hand shook. He told himself not to expect much. When the ship entered the atmosphere, everything changed. It was massive, far larger than a personal transport. Its shadow swallowed half the dock. The ground trembled as it descended. Loose tools rattled. People stopped walking. Aliens of every type turned to look. Dock workers froze. Supervisors shouted orders that no one followed. Elias felt the vibration in his bones. A cold fear ran through him. This was not normal. The ship's hull was dark, heavy, marked with symbols he did not recognize. Military markings. Old and dangerous. As it landed, the metal platform groaned under the weight. Dust exploded outward. The air felt thick and tight. A ramp began to lower. Slowly. Deliberately. No one spoke. Even the loudest species stayed silent. Elias stood at the edge of the crowd, heart pounding. A small thought whispered in his mind that this could not be for him, that there had been a mistake. Then the ramp hit the ground with a heavy sound, and something moved inside the ship. The shadow that fell across the dock grew deeper, wider, taller. Gasps spread through the crowd. Someone laughed nervously. Someone else stepped back. Elias could not move. His screen tag flashed on his wrist, confirming the arrival. This was his match. Whatever was stepping out of that ship was meant for him. And as the massive shape began to emerge, blocking the light behind it, one clear thought filled his mind. This was not what he ordered. The first thing Elias saw was a boot. It was massive, dark metal, heavy enough to dent the ramp beneath it. Then another step followed. Slow, controlled, powerful. The shape moved forward, and the crowd finally understood why the ship had been so large. She was enormous, easily twice Elias's height, and far broader. Her armor was thick and layered, built for war. Deep scratches crossed the metal, marks of blades and plasma fire. The armor had been repaired many times, but never polished. Her skin was a deep muted color, hard and scarred. Old wounds traced her arms and neck. Not fresh, but remembered. Gasps turned into noise. Some aliens laughed in disbelief. Others stepped back in fear. A few shouted that this had to be a military arrival. Some pointed at Elias, then at her, and laughed louder. The idea was absurd to them. Elias felt his face burn. He wanted to disappear into the ground beneath his feet. Every eye moved between him and the giant figure. Dock officials rushed forward, waving scanners and data pads. They spoke quickly and nervously. One of them raised his voice, accusing the system of a matching error. "This cannot be correct," one official said. "This unit belongs to a warrior caste," another added. "She cannot be assigned to a human civilian." The giant alien woman stopped at the end of the ramp. She stood perfectly still, towering over everyone. Her presence silenced the crowd without effort. She removed her helmet slowly, not to threaten, but to be seen. Her face was strong, marked by age and experience. Her eyes were sharp, focused, and calm. There was no anger in them, only certainty. She spoke, and her voice was deep but controlled, clear enough that every translator activated at once. "There's no error," she said. "I have arrived as assigned." The officials froze. One tried again, stammering that the pairing violated multiple guidelines. Another whispered about public order and diplomatic risk. She looked past them, directly at Elias. Elias felt his chest tighten. Fear rose first, sharp and cold. Then shame followed close behind. He felt small, smaller than he ever had before. He imagined what the crowd saw. A weak human man, standing in front of a living weapon. A joke made real. His hands trembled. He wanted to apologize, though he did not know why. He wanted to explain that this was not what he meant. Before he could speak, she moved. The giant alien woman stepped off the ramp and walked toward him. Each step was heavy, but careful. She did not rush. Security units raised their weapons. Orders were shouted, but she ignored them all. She stopped directly in front of Elias, so close that her shadow completely covered him. The air felt thick and warm. Then, slowly, she lowered herself. Armor joints released with soft mechanical sounds. Her massive form descended, until she was kneeling on one knee. The dock went silent. No laughter, no shouting. She had lowered herself to his level. Her eyes were now even with his. Not above, not below. Shock spread across every face. Officials stared at their screens, unable to understand what they were seeing. Other aliens stepped closer, drawn by disbelief. Elias could barely breathe. No one had ever knelt for him before. No one had ever looked at him like this. Her voice dropped, softer now, meant only for him. But the silence made every word carry. "You are Elias Mar," she said. He nodded, unsure his voice would work. She leaned slightly closer, lowering her head further. A sign of respect among her people, though no one else here knew it. Her eyes held his, steady and unafraid. Then she spoke the words that broke the world around them. "I chose you, human." The ride home was silent. The transport moved smoothly through the dark streets of the colony. Elias sat stiff in his seat, hands folded, unsure where to look. The giant alien woman sat across from him, taking up most of the space. Her armor hummed softly with power. Its presence filled the small cabin. Elias felt the weight of everything that had happened. The stares, the laughter, the kneeling. In his mind, one thought repeated again and again. She must have been forced. When they reached his living block, the silence followed them inside. The room felt even smaller now. Metal walls, a single table, 2 chairs. He gestured awkwardly toward the chair. She lowered herself carefully, moving as if afraid to break something. That made his chest tighten. He finally spoke, his voice quiet and unsure. "You do not have to stay," he said. There must be a mistake. She looked at him for a long moment. Her expression did not change, but something softened in her eyes. I was not forced, she said. I chose this bond. Elias shook his head slowly. He did not understand. He could not understand. He was human, weak by galactic standards, unimportant. You are a warrior, he said. I am nothing. Her brow lowered slightly, not in anger, but in focus. Then she began to speak. My people are called the Carvel, she said. We are raised on strength. From birth, we are tested. She explained that among her kind, weakness was shame. Those who failed were discarded. Compassion was seen as a flaw. There's no mercy, she said. No kindness. No second chances. Elias listened quietly. Her words painted a hard world. A world where survival meant becoming harder than pain. She told him that she had been strong. Strong enough to survive. Strong enough to become a warrior. But strength had not brought peace. Only more battle. More loss. I watched humans, she said. From afar. Elias looked up, surprised. Humans were rarely watched for long. She explained that during joint trade missions and border patrols, she had seen humans work beside other species, often ignored, often mocked. But she had noticed something else. She had seen humans protect the weak, even when it cost them, even when no one praised them. She had seen humans share food when supplies were low, stand between danger and strangers, stay behind so others could escape. Humans feel pain deeply, she said. Fear, loss. But they still help. They still care. Elias felt his throat tighten. No one had ever described humans that way before. She told him about a battle long ago, when her unit had been ambushed, when retreat was ordered. She had been wounded, unable to move fast enough, left behind because she slowed the unit. A human medic had found her, alone, bleeding, and considered an enemy. He should have left, she said. My kind would have. But the human had stayed, treated her wounds, shielded her body with his own. He had been injured, saving her, and later died from those injuries. He was weak, she said, but he was brave. Elias felt tears burn in his eyes. He looked down, ashamed and overwhelmed. That human changed me, she continued. He showed me a strength my people never taught. She said when she learned of the bonding program, she searched for humans like him. Not powerful, not famous, but kind. I chose you because you live quietly, she said. You endure. You do not demand. Elias could not speak. His chest felt too full. Slowly, deliberately, she reached for her armor clasps. Elias tensed, unsure what she meant to do. She removed the heavy chest plate, then the shoulder guards, setting them aside gently. Without the armor, she looked different. Still large, still strong, but more real. Old scars crossed her skin, some from battle, others from punishment. But deeper than the scars on her body were the ones in her eyes. Scars of loss, of loneliness. She stood there unarmored, vulnerable, a warrior showing trust. And Elias realized she was not just revealing her body. She was revealing her heart. The news spread faster than Elias expected. It moved through terminals, trade stations, and data feeds, always with the same tone. A weak human with a giant alien bride. Some reports used humor. Some used disbelief. Most used mockery. Images of Elias standing beside her were shared again and again. The size difference became a joke, a symbol of human foolishness. Other species laughed openly. They asked how long it would take before she crushed him by accident. They placed bets on how soon the bond would fail. Elias tried not to look at the feeds, but the looks on the streets told him enough. Whispers followed them wherever they went. Officials arrived within days. Cultural observers, security inspectors, bonding compliance officers. They checked documents, scanned living space, asked endless questions. They expected fear, control, or abuse. They watched closely, waiting for proof that the pairing was unstable. What they saw confused them. Elias never raised his voice, never gave orders, never treated her like property or weapon. When she entered a room, he moved chairs to give her space. When she struggled with small human objects, he helped without laughing. When others stared, he stood beside her quietly. He spoke to her gently, asked her opinions, listened. At meals, he served her first, not from fear, but from habit and respect. Observers noted everything, every movement, every interaction. The giant alien woman began to change. At first, it was subtle. Her posture softened. Her voice lost its edge. She no longer scanned every room like a battlefield. She began to sit instead of stand, to rest instead of guard. She asked Elias questions about Earth, about human history. She listened to old music with him, simple songs with slow rhythms, songs about loss and hope. She learned the human word for quiet comfort, companionship. Other species noticed something unsettling. She laughed, softly at first, as if unsure it was allowed. Her reactions changed. She paused before speaking, considered feelings as well as facts. Medical scans were taken, emotional readings logged, stress levels measured. The data confused the officials. By all known models, a warrior of her kind placed with a weaker partner should show dominance, frustration, or aggression. Instead, her aggression levels dropped. Her focus sharpened. Her emotional stability increased. Elias, meanwhile, changed too. Not in strength, but in presence. He stood straighter, spoke with more confidence, looked people in the eyes, not because he had power, but because he felt valued. Officials increased their monitoring. They brought in experts, psychologists, cultural analysts. The experts watched hours of footage. Elias making tea, Elias listening, Elias apologizing when he made mistakes. They saw him give her space when she needed it, sit with her when memories troubled her, offer comfort without demand. One analyst finally spoke what others were thinking. This bond is reversing expected outcomes, he said. The warrior was not becoming weaker. She was becoming more controlled, more focused. Her reactions in training simulations improved. Her decision-making became faster. Her emotional regulation surpassed previous levels. Strength refined by trust. The laughter across the galaxy slowly faded. Mockery turned into curiosity. Curiosity into attention. News titles changed. From jokes to questions. What is happening to the Carvel warrior? How is the human influencing her? The final report reached the council chambers quietly, but its words carried weight. The alien officials realized, with growing unease and respect, that she was not becoming weaker at all. She was becoming stronger emotionally, not weaker. The message arrived without warning. No soft words, no polite language. It came directly from her people, from the Carvel High Command, marked as urgent and final. They demanded her return. They stated the bond was invalid. They declared the human influence dangerous. According to them, humans were manipulators, too emotional, too subtle. They claimed humans weakened warriors not with force, but with care, with softness. The message ended with a threat. A Carvel retrieval fleet was already moving, its course set for the colony. When Elias read the message, his hands shook, not from fear for himself, but for her. He looked up at her. She stood still, eyes fixed on nothing, her jaw tight. "They will not forgive this," she said quietly. "My people do not allow deviation." Elias swallowed. The room felt heavy again, like the night before the ship arrived. He asked if she wanted to go back. He forced the words out despite the pain. He wanted her to choose freely. She did not answer right away. Her silence was louder than any response. The next day, the sky darkened with ships. Carvel war vessels filled the upper air. Their size blocked the sun. Alarms rang across the colony. Civilians were ordered indoors. Security forces retreated. The Carvel soldiers landed in full armor, weapons active, faces hidden behind helmets. They marched through the streets like the colony already belonged to them. Their leader demanded the warrior be surrendered. Immediately, officials tried to negotiate, tried to delay, tried to pass responsibility. Elias stepped forward before anyone could stop him. Unarmed, unarmored, he felt very small standing before them, but he did not step back. "She is not your property," he said. His voice shook, but he kept speaking. She chose this life. She chose me. The soldiers laughed. A sharp, harsh sound. They called him foolish. One raised a weapon slightly. Not enough to fire. Enough to threaten. They told him to move aside. They told him humans had no authority here. They told him resistance would end badly. Elias stood his ground. His heart pounded. His legs felt weak. "If you take her," he said, "you will have to take me too." The air went silent. Even the soldiers paused. They asked him if he understood what he was saying. If he understood the cost. He nodded. He understood. He thought of his empty room, his quiet life, his forgotten existence, and he thought of what she had given him. Respect, choice, meaning. "I will not give her up," he said, "even if it costs my life." The soldiers raised their weapons fully now, targeting him, calculating threat levels. Behind Elias, something moved. She stepped forward, slowly, deliberately. She stood behind him, her massive form blocking the soldier's view of his back, a shield without touching him. Then she reached for her weapon. Every Carvel soldier tensed, expecting violence. Instead, she removed it. The heavy weapon disengaged with a solid click, and she placed it on the ground. The sound echoed across the street, loud and final. Gasps spread among the onlookers. Shock rippled through the ranks. She lifted her head, her voice calm and clear, strong without anger. "I will not return," she said. "I choose him." She stood there unarmed, a warrior defying her empire, choosing a human over everything she had been taught. And in that moment, the galaxy held its breath. The moment stretched longer than anyone expected. Weapons stayed raised, but no one fired. The Carvel soldiers waited for orders. Officials waited for panic. The crowd waited for chaos. None of it came. Instead, something quieter happened. Human signals began to move through private channels. No speeches, no threats, just messages, short and calm. Humans from nearby colonies checked in. Doctors, engineers, pilots, traders, people with no rank and no fame. They did not rush to fight. They did not shout demands. They asked one question only: how can we help? Human diplomats arrived without escorts. They carried no weapons, only records. They spoke of old treaties, shared sacrifices, times humans had stood beside other species in disasters and wars. They reminded the Council that humans had bled quietly for the galaxy, that humans had rebuilt worlds not their own, that humans remembered debts. The Carvel commander demanded control. He called this behavior manipulation, weakness disguised as unity. The human lead diplomat did not argue. He simply nodded and spoke calmly. "We have seen what domination creates," he said. "We chose another path." He spoke of Earth, of wars that nearly ended humanity, of lessons learned at terrible cost. "We do not dominate," he said. "We endure." Data followed the words. Human casualty lists from shared conflicts, human aid missions, human evacuation efforts, always present, rarely credited. The council chamber fell silent, screens filled with evidence, not of power, but of persistence. Then the giant alien woman stepped forward. She stood tall before the council, unarmed, unshielded. She spoke not as a warrior, but as a witness. "My people believe strength is force," she said. "They believe fear creates order." She looked around the chamber, her gaze steady, unflinching. "Humans taught me something else," she continued. "They endure pain without becoming cruel. They feel deeply and still choose restraint." She spoke of Elias, of his silence, his patience. She spoke of how he never commanded her, never claimed ownership, never demanded obedience. "He gave me choice," she said, "and in that choice, I became stronger." She turned toward the Carvel commander, her voice firm now, clear and sharp. "Humans are not weak," she said. "They are the most dangerous species I have ever known." A ripple moved through the chamber. Shock, unease. "They do not conquer," she continued. "They change those who stand beside them." She explained that humans reshape allies, not through fear, but through trust. They survive what should break them, she said, and they bring others with them. The council members exchanged looks, old assumptions cracking, long-held beliefs questioned. The Carvel representatives demanded action, but their words carried less weight now. Their certainty weakened. Human diplomats waited, silent, patient. They did not push. They did not threaten withdrawal or war. They trusted the truth to stand on its own. The council deliberated. Minutes passed, then hours. Outside, soldiers lowered weapons slowly. Tension eased without orders, as if the conflict itself had lost purpose. Finally, the council spoke. Their decision measured and firm. The bond would stand. The Carvel retrieval order was denied. Human autonomy was affirmed. No celebrations followed. No cheers. Just quiet acknowledgement. Humans had not won through strength, but through endurance. And for the first time in galactic history, humans gained something far more powerful than fear. They gained respect. Life did not change suddenly after the council decision. There were no parades, no monuments raised overnight. Change came quietly, the way it always did with humans. Elias returned to his simple work at the docking yards. He still checked cargo seals, still logged numbers. But now, people noticed him, not with fear, but with curiosity. The giant alien woman stayed at his side, not as a weapon, not as a symbol, but as a partner. Their home remained small, still quiet, still imperfect, yet the silence felt different now. It was shared, comfortable. They cooked together, learned each other's habits, learned each other's limits. She no longer wore her armor all the time, only when necessary, only when she chose to. At night, she listened to human stories, of Earth oceans, of storms and forests. She learned that humans remembered pain, but did not let it define every decision. Other species began to watch more closely, not with mockery, but with questions. Researchers arrived, cultural teams, diplomatic observers. They studied human behavior, human patience, human restraint. They saw how humans disagreed without violence, how they argued and still shared space, how they carried grief and continued forward. Slowly, other interspecies bonds formed, not through conquest, but through trust. A Carvel engineer partnered with a human medic. A trader from the outer rings settled with a human farmer. Small connections, quiet choices. The galaxy did not change in a day. Empires remained. Old fears lingered, but something had shifted. A crack in the old beliefs. A question that would not go away. Were humans truly weak, or simply strong in ways no one had measured before? The giant alien woman was asked to speak many times. At councils, at academies. She always said the same thing. That strength without compassion burns itself out. That fear creates enemies faster than peace. She spoke of Elias, of his refusal to command, of his willingness to stand unarmed. She said that humans carried the memory of destruction and chose restraint because of it. Elias never sought attention. He never corrected anyone who misunderstood him. He lived as he always had. But now, when people passed him, they nodded. They greeted him. He was still human, still small, still emotional, and the galaxy was learning that those traits were not flaws. One evening, as the artificial sun dipped low, Elias and his partner stood outside their building, watching ships pass quietly overhead. She looked at the stars, then down at him, and rested her hand gently on his shoulder. No armor, no weapons, just presence. The galaxy continued to move forward, slowly, carefully, and in that slow movement, a new understanding took root. Humans were never weak. They were just strong in a way the galaxy did not understand.